Reagan, and today I'm going to be doing my unexpected favorite books. Now, I was inspired to do this video by Jessie over at Jessie the Reader, who recently did this video, same title, same theme, and I thought it was a really great idea, and I was like, you know what, Jessie? I'm gonna do that too, even though it wasn't a tag video, but here we are today. So this video is essentially kind of talking about the books that took you by surprise. Obviously, I feel like we all pick up and read books that we're like, yep, I'm gonna love this. I can tell by the synopsis, I can tell by the hype, like this book is literally for me. Then there are the books we pick up that we're a little unsure about. Either we haven't really heard anything about it, or the hype is like so intense or so in a direction where you're like, I'm not sure this book is for me, but I'm gonna give it a try. So I definitely have books in both of those categories, hype that I didn't trust, and then also books I honestly hadn't heard really much of anything about and just kind of picked up on a whim. But anyway, without further ado, let's go ahead and dive right in. So the first book I'm gonna talk about is Night Film by Marisha Pessl. Now this book is on this list because, first off, it's one of my favorite books of all time, but I honestly was so hesitant to pick this book up because this is a genre of book I honestly never read, and I'm also a scaredy cat. This is a noir, dark horror thriller, and just those words alone normally would have me completely stray away from this book. I was so scared to pick this up, but again, I'm so glad I did. This is a story that follows a disgraced reporter who basically notices that the death of a very famous horror movie director's daughter is it's a lot more suspicious than everyone is making out to be. From there, he kind of falls down this like dark web, weird, crazy stuff. That's kind of where the story unfurls. Obviously, I really didn't give a lot away in terms of synopsis, but this is a thriller, but I'm letting you know it's dark. It's very much centered around like noir horror films, which again was an unexpected element of the story that I thought that I ended up really liking. It also completely blew my mind. It's one of the best books I've ever read, and I feel like it was just serendipity that I ended up trusting it and picking it up. The next book that was an unexpected favorite is actually a reread for me, which really made it unexpected, and that was The Thief by Megan Wallen Turner. I started recently rereading, first starting with this book and then starting the rest of the series over the past couple months, and oh my gosh, this book has really taken me by surprise. First off, I hadn't really heard a lot about this series over or across BookTube at all, so I really didn't have a lot of expectations going into the full series, and I had already technically read this book, and I remember being like fun, but like nothing out of the park crazy. But oh my gosh, this series has been amazing to read. I've read the first two books, I'm currently about to start the third one, and it's so good. Full of like thieves and kingdoms and folklore, and it's just a really wonderfully written story. It feels like a little more old school YA fantasy, which I don't read often, which I actually find it to feel a little refreshing. I don't know, I've just been really taken by surprise by this book series. I've talked about it a lot. I would recommend it. You should read it. The next surprise is more like an author, and that is pretty much anything Jenny Han has ever written. I like to read contemporary, but I mean, I bet a lot of you guys know it's definitely not like my main genre. I'm pretty much like 95% fantasy all the time, every day. So to say that like I love anything a contemporary author writes, I feel like is a little unexpected, at least for me. I've read all of Jenny Han's books. I love them all. I think they're all charming and cute, but they all have the right element of drama in it as well to keep the plot really propelling forward. I also just feel like Jenny Han does a really wonderful job writing coming of age stories for women or young girls. She also just has a really like large expanse of emotion that she deals with. I also love her family units that she has. They're also like loving and charming, and not to mention she generally includes a lot of baking, which really makes this whole thing a lot more fun and tasty sounding. But yeah, I just love everything Jenny Han writes. I also like love following Jenny Han on Instagram. She lives like such a cool looking life, but you know, that's a story for another day. Next book is a book that I literally just didn't believe the hype. This was a story that like everyone was reading at the same time, and I was like, nah, I bet it's not as good as what people say. Like, I don't think the format sounds interesting. I bet it's like all full of cliches. And then I read it over Thanksgiving last year, and it completely blew my mind, and that is Illuminate by Kaufman and Jake Vickery. This story is just so crazy cool, sci-fi spaceship story. I honestly couldn't speak more highly about this book. This story, as a lot of you guys know, is told in an unusual format. It's basically like told in a collection of documents and like security camera footage and all things like that, and it actually works so well to explain the story. Also, this is just an amazing and an incredible, fast-paced, action-packed science fiction story that literally just kept me on the edge of my seat. I read it in one sitting. I honestly could not put this book down. I couldn't speak more highly about this series. I'm so excited for the third one. This book deserves all the hype in my opinion. Next up is a book that is very well loved on my channel, but when I initially picked it up, it was actually like getting kind of mixed reviews, so I had pretty low expectations going in, and that is Three Dark Crowns by Kendar Blake. I picked this book up and was completely blown away, and honestly, I think part of the reason why I was obsessed with it so immediately out of the bat was because I was expecting to give this book like 3 stars. Like I thought it'd be like a middle of the road good Halloween read, but then I read it and I was like, holy crap, this is probably one of the best books I've read this year. So incredible, love this series. As you guys know, I've talked about this a lot. This is about 3 sisters on a matriarchal island who have to kill each other for the throne. It's so good, there's different factions of magic, it's dark, it's also very lyrically written, and it's probably one of the most unique YA fantasy reads I've read in a while. I love how gruesome it is, honestly. It's so dark in such a good way. Next up is another book that I just wasn't quite sure on that hype train, namely because I had read a series by this author previously and I just had found it alright. So when everyone was kind of lauding this new book, I was like, nah, I don't know if that's gonna be for me. But I was so wrong, and that is Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. This is another book that completely took me by surprise last year and ended up being one of my favorite books, actually 2 years ago now. This is an amazing dark fantasy tale about a bunch of like misfit people trying to perform like the greatest heist of all time. It has some great historical European influences from like Venice and also like the Netherlands from like the 1500s, and it's so good. It makes the setting so incredibly rich, and also just the personalities of all the characters are so distinct and wonderful to read from, as this is a multi-perspective story. It really did capture my attention immediately and I completely fell in love. So another instance where the hype, in my opinion, was entirely true and it totally caught me by surprise. And the last book I'm going to talk about is The Storied Life of Jake Vickery. This was another kind of like sleepy novel that like someone recommended to me, but I hadn't really heard about it on any other avenue, so I was like, I'll pick it up, you know, I trust their recommendations, like let's see what this book is about, and it completely made me feel all of the things. I still like think about it sometimes and I'm just like, ugh. It's just so sweet and charming and beautiful, and it packs so much in such a small little book. This is a story that follows our main character, AJ Vickery, who's kind of a grumpy old man who runs a bookstore in a small, like, seaside town. One day he gets the very unexpected surprise of a child left in his shop who then he raises from childhood to adulthood. You follow him as he, like, struggles with parenthood and fatherhood, as well as like falling in love and like creating a family, but the story is so much more than just what I just explained. It's just an incredibly beautiful story. It's hilarious, again, it's charming, but it also has a lot of elements of like sorrow and a lot of things that'll make you feel, but it's a beautiful, happy story. It's just life personified, essentially, with the good and the bad, and it's just a wonderful story that I kind of picked up on the off chance, and I'm so glad I did because it is such a good book. Alrighty guys, those are all of my unexpected favorite books. Let me know down below that you guys have picked up and kind of were unexpectedly fall in love with, because, you know, hey, I'd love to know. I'm always looking for new book recs. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you soon with another one soon. Goodbye!